Hi guys, it's Billie. To celebrate the release of my new documentary, I partnered with NTWRK to create these amazing high quality art prints. They were created by 3 amazing visual artists and are limited exclusive. Go get yours now. I love you guys so much.
Hi, my name is Nathalie Nguyen. I have been a visual artist all my life. I actually usually work in 3D. I started out as a traditional illustrator, graduated with a BFA in visual development in San Francisco, and then I moved to New York to be a painter. However, as soon as I got here, I fell into a 3D job and it kind of took off. And soon before it, I had a 3D career. I decided to return to oil painting recently and complete a personal painting for my birthday, which was earlier this month. The day I debuted my painting, I was selected for this Billie project, so I took it as a sign that I should continue pursuing my original goal before I became a 3D artist. This opportunity meant that for the first time, I was oil painting for a client. I usually do 3D freelance, so it was exciting to work with a different medium. The inspiration for my print is from Billie's Ilo Milo track. I saw a video of her live performance in Houston where she performed with a cast on and felt really inspired by her choice to do that. I chose the image of an underwater scene as a reference to her visualization preference of deep-sea creatures in her lyric video. I wasn't immediately drawn to the idea, but after sending a few rounds of sketches and suggestions, I worked with a NTWRK team to carve out a composition that directly tied into a song I liked. Oil painting is a pretty straightforward creative process, but I can't lie that I was a little rusty. In all art forms, reference is key, and there was a very tight deadline. I chose to do something a little out of the ordinary for this creative process and used my 3D skills to draft a reference of Billie's pose so that I would have a guide while I painted. Overall, the project was conceptualized in a few days, but once it was approved for execution, I miraculously started and finished the entire oil painting in about 48 hours. Honestly, it was really fun, and I work well under pressure, so it was probably a good thing. I think it's important to experiment with different materials because, honestly, I can't choose and I love all mediums. I encourage all artists to switch mediums from time to time. It's better to hone your craft through multiple experiences than try to force one to work when you're mentally exhausted. It's good to get a fresh perspective. Billie inspires me in a way I don't think she really means to. I think she's just being herself and doing what she loves despite so much pressure to be a role model or a star or whatever it is society's projecting onto her. I'm sure she has dark days, but I think as a human, if you're passionate about something and you're actively trying, you're really cool. At least in my book. I hope that when Billie sees my print and she recognizes that this is the outfit she wore on that one stage with the leg injury, I did paint her without the cast, thinking she probably would have preferred it that way during that performance because it looked pretty heavy. This is my first time selling a print at this scale to such a huge audience and to a very loyal and dedicated fan base, so I'm truly honored, and I've also never had my name embossed, so that was also pretty nifty.
I've been drawing ever since I was a kid. I haven't always used colored pencils. I've worked with all different kinds of mediums in the past, but the only reason why I prefer colored pencils over paints is because there's no cleanup involved. I don't have to take time mixing paints or get extra materials ready. Due to the timeline of this project, I used colored pencils because that would make the outlining of a snow globe so much easier. I would get the glass sheen right, and as well as being able to mix the colors into the globe most accurately and efficiently. When I found that I was selected, I was super excited because this is a huge project, and thrilled when I heard Billie chose the artist herself. She's an artist that even if you may not actively listen to her music, everyone's heard it at least once, so to work for an artist with such a huge reach is very new for me. And to create this in the light of an inspiring female artist was really positive for me as well. For this piece, I was really inspired by the color palette and the ethereal scenes in both Ilo Milo and I Love You. So this illustration features Billie on her bed, drawing to the idea of a place of comfort and safety. And to contrast this idea of comfort, I chose to encapsulate the scene in a snow globe. So the globe represents that although Billie may be in a state of comfort in herself and her work, she is still being viewed and interacted with the outside world. So in all, the purpose of the piece is to represent the fragile and blurry parts of Billie's world and artistic life, which is on view for all. So it took a couple of drafts and sketches to get to the final image for the prints. Initially, I wanted to create a CCTV surveillance split screen scene with scenes from the documentary drawn more realistically, but because we're so used to seeing her dark side through her artistic expression, so in the spirit of showing a broader side of her vision, I ended up switching direction. So incorporating brighter colors, yet keeping the melancholy colors of blues and greens, I started drafting different caricatures of Billie in a more playful light. So I ended up with 2 final sketches, one of Billie in the snow globe, and then one of her singing on tour in an elevated bed, and then decided to combine them into one for the final piece. So for my creative process for this project, I started researching Billie's interviews, music, as well as other videos to get more familiar with her world. And then after diving more into who Billie was as an artist, as well as who she was as a person in her day-to-day life, I started creating a mood board of different images I referenced from her videos and interviews in my head of how I want to portray her for this project. So I initially started with the CCTV draft and then took another day to draft 3 other scenes for the poster. And then after making changes and updates, I finalized the bed in the snow globe, sketched throughout the course of a day. But because I was able to take the time sketching the final draft, I was easily able to recreate it larger on the 18 by 24 paper. So the final piece took me around 6 hours to finish, but that's only because I took the time to sketch everything first.
This is Emma Stern. I have not always made digital art. My passion, the thing that I do, is I'm a painter, oil on canvas painting, but creating my compositions using 3D software is a huge part of my process. It's an essential part of my process. The inspiration behind my print was a scene from the documentary where Billie is sitting in Phineas's bedroom, and we are beginning to see just kind of the very bare beginnings of how she makes her music, and just a cool, very intimate insight into that process. This image was chosen as the result of a collaborative back and forth between myself and creative direction at NTWRK. So I definitely would say it was a collaboration, and it definitely evolved from the original idea that I had, and the final result was a cumulative effect that I'm really happy with. The very first step was kind of building the figure that was going to be Billie, so I thought it was important to sort of capture her essence. And then from there, it kind of just became how we were going to frame it, how we were going to kind of create a little universe for this figure. Because most of my digital images ultimately get used for my paintings, which is, the main thing that I do. For this one, it was kind of cool because I knew that the final result would be digital. So I felt a little bit more free to experiment rather than always thinking about how something would translate into paint. For this, I kind of felt like I could take a little bit more liberty with the digital process.